Alex DeBrincat is a player who would check a lot of the boxes the Islanders need. He's fast, he's young, he's a goal scorer. But could the Islanders make it work? We discussed that on today's show and a lot more coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast.
Your Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome, everybody, to the Thursday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to thank everyone for making Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube or on your podcatcher of choice so you can get the newest episode as soon as it drops. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Lots to discuss on today's show, but first, if there's something Islanders related on your mind, if you have a question, a comment, maybe a topic you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, feel free to send us an email. The email address, lockedonislanders@gmail.com. You could also follow the show on Twitter at LockedOnIsles, and you could follow me, Gil Martin, on Twitter at IceWars, NYRVSNYI. We'll keep you up to date on all the latest Islanders news, notes, and happenings throughout the offseason, trade rumors, free agency, the draft, firings, you name it. We'll have it all for you here on Locked On Isles. So make sure you stay with us. And we are having new shows drop right now every day, Monday through Friday. So one player who is very possibly available this offseason, who would check a heck of a lot of boxes for the New York Islanders, is Alex DeBrincat. And I know, you look at what he has done in the NHL, and the Ottawa Senators winger, he's 25 years old, won't turn 26 until the very end of the year, December 18th. He is certainly speedy, and he definitely has that scoring touch that the Islanders desperately need. The fact of the matter is, last year in Ottawa, he had only, and I'll put it in quotes, only 27 goals and 66 points. And that was considered an off year for him with the Blackhawks. And he started his career in 2017, 2018. He had a pair of 41 goal seasons. He had a 32 goal season in 2020, 2021. But remember that year was cut short by the pandemic, as was 2019, 2020, when again he had an off year, but still, 18 goals in 70 games. And then that season went dry. He is dynamite on the power play. 11 power play goals last year, 14 power play goals the year before. Remember, the Islanders as a team only had 35 power play goals all year. So, certainly DeBrincat can add that. And his shooting percentage for his career is 14.4. Last year was one of his worst years, only a 10.3 shooting percentage. But get this, he attempted a career high 471 shots, placed 263 of them on goal. And if you think about the Islanders, if you have 263 shots on goal, where does that put you on the Islanders? That puts you in the lead, not just by a little. Brock Nelson led the Islanders with 222 shots on goal. There is a big difference. So DeBrincat, fast, young, shoots the puck and puts the puck in the net. And, at this age, it is entirely possible that we have not seen the best of him. And if you can imagine a line of Barzal, Horvat, and DeBrincat, that may be one heck of a trio. Or you could do Nelson, Barzal, and DeBrincat. There's a lot. Look, I can sit here and do combinations, but before you get too excited, here is the issue for Alex DeBrincat. His salary cap hit last year was $6.4 million, but his salary is $9 million. And he is a restricted free agent. Straight up, I could tell you he's not taking less than $9 million to play hockey next year. Would he be interested in coming to Long Island? That is a question. And then obviously, would Lou Lamoriello be interested in bringing him in? Or whoever may take over if Lou Lamoriello does not return? And then number two, how do you clear up enough cap room for the Islanders to sign Alex DeBrincat? It won't be easy. It will be extremely difficult. But is it impossible? No. And, part of it would almost certainly involve getting another team to take Josh Bailey's $5 million off the cap hit. There are some teams toward the bottom of the cap room situation. They have enough room, and they need to get enough cap added in order to get to the cap floor comfortably. But the problem is, you want a team to take Josh Bailey off your hands, you're going to have to throw in some draft picks to sweeten it up. The other thing is this with DeBrincat, because he is a restricted free agent, what you would get is the right to negotiate with him up until July 1st. You don't get him unless you do a sign and trade, or unless you reach an agreement with his agent before a trade is made. You're only getting the rights to DeBrincat. Now that may make the asking price less, but again, what did the Islanders have? Would the Ottawa Senators be interested in some of the veterans that the Islanders have? And again, taking a JG Pajot back, or a Bailey, or another player where you can shed at least a good chunk of this money. But here's the other factor. If you sign DeBrincat, he's going to want that long term, that 7-8 year deal at $9 million plus. You still need to sign Ilya Sorokin. You still need that, backbone of your franchise to come back and be added. So look, here are the obstacles, the way I see it, that would keep the Islanders from getting DeBrincat. Number one, salary. Number two, do the Islanders have what Ottawa is looking for to make a trade for his rights? And then number three, could Lou Lamoriello, if he stays, or whoever the new GM would be if Lou Lamoriello retires or moves up to a higher front office position, would they be willing to do it? Lou Lamoriello typically would not be interested in a guy like Alex DeBrincat. He generally does not make those kind of moves, but maybe a new GM wants to turn things over and change things around. So maybe, just maybe, if there is a new GM, maybe there's a chance. I'm not saying a great chance. It is not going to be easy. The Islanders' salary cap situation, definitely a problem. But hopefully there is a way for this team to get younger, faster, more skilled. And I know DeBrincat checks all those boxes. We have got a lot more to get to on today's show. We'll answer one of your questions about Cal Clutterbuck. So we'll talk about that and a whole lot more still to come on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful. Gametime is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you could stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you have. Gametime, you don't have to plan months in advance. They have deals on tickets right up to the day of the event, and you can get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. The Gametime guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. So snag the tickets without the stress with Gametime. Just download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. So we go to the mailbag, and again, lockedonislanders@gmail.com is the email to send it to if you want to ask a question. Here is one from Mike in Charleston, South Carolina. Gil, I hope you are well. I was wondering your take on Cal Clutterbuck. Seems like he has been getting some flack with all his injuries. Personally, I think Cal is a game changer when he is healthy. He plays all out, and that effort does lead to injuries. So why be so hard on a guy who gives you so much effort? I say we just need to keep him healthy for the playoffs, and he is gold. Would love to know your thoughts, Mike in Charleston, South Carolina. Mike, first of all, a big thank you for the email. Always appreciate that. And look, here's the thing about Cal Clutterbuck. I love Cal Clutterbuck as a guy. He is a leader in this locker room. And he, like you said, does give his all, sets the tone with his physicality. Here is the issue with Cal Clutterbuck, though. You could say, people are giving him flack because of the fact that he hasn't played a lot of games. But the injuries, unfortunately, come due to two important factors. Number one is part of what makes Cal Clutterbuck so effective. He's physical. He's willing to throw his weight around. He had 194 hits this year in just 49 games for the Islanders. And, if you break that down, here is a guy who was third on the team in hits, had only 4 fewer hits than Alexander Romanov, who was second on the team in hits, and 101 fewer hits than Matt Martin, but played, quite honestly, 33 games fewer than Matt Martin. So I don't think there's any question that when he's on the ice, Cal Clutterbuck is a leader. Cal Clutterbuck can set the tone for your team, and he is a physical presence. He's not going to give you a lot offensively at this point in his career. 6 goals, 12 points. He was a +9. So when he's out there, he's helpful, but he's also 35 years old, and he will be 36 come November of this year. So about a month after the new season starts. When you get to be that age and you have to play that physical style to be effective, injuries are inevitable. And I think, in your email, you kind of acknowledged, he's going to get hurt. You need him in the playoffs. You need him healthy. How do you guarantee that he'd be healthy for the playoffs? That is kind of part of the problem. And if you look back, this year, Cal Clutterbuck played 49 out of 82 games. In 2021-22, he played 59 games. In 2020-2021, 50. That was closer to a full season because we didn't play 82 games that year. But even 2019-2020, which was the year that, the Islanders played 68 games, if I'm not mistaken, Cal Clutterbuck played 37. So the last 4 seasons, he's only come close to giving you, let's say, 75 games out of 82 once. And that was in a COVID shortened year where, he played in 50 games and, the league played 56. So when you get older, injuries are more likely to happen and they take longer to recover from. And this isn't a knock on Cal Clutterbuck. It's just an acknowledgement of Father Time. So, if he's healthy, if he's out there on the ice, Cal Clutterbuck can still be effective and his leadership is unquestioned. And if you ask anybody on the Islanders roster, do you respect and look up to Cal Clutterbuck? I think the answer will be yes. I'd be surprised if there was more than 1 or 2 guys who maybe don't, particularly like or respect Cal Clutterbuck. And I'm stretching it even by saying that. So, could you accept, is it worth it to have Cal Clutterbuck back, knowing he's only going to give you 40 to 50, 55 games, most likely, over the course of the season? That's a tough one to answer. Now, on getaway day, Clutter basically was saying he feels like he can still contribute and he looks to come back. He's got 1 more year left on his contract at a cap hit of $1.75 million. Buying him out would save you a little bit of cap space, but really not a lot. Trading him, I don't know what you would get back. Maybe a late 5th, 6th, 7th round draft pick for Cal Clutterbuck at this stage of his career, or maybe you could throw him into a deal if you're, trading some other players to free up cap space. But with the league minimum being $750,000, the most you could save is $1 million if you replace Clutterbuck with a guy making the league minimum. So, if you accept Cal Clutterbuck's likely limitations, he could still be a useful player, but it may be that you could save $1 million off the cap if you can move on from Cal Clutterbuck, but that also won't be easy. And I know, as someone who has been watching this team a long, long time, and Clutterbuck has been a part of this team since 2013. That's a decade, 10 seasons with the New York Islanders. He's been an integral part of this team, and he's earned the respect that he's gotten. So it would not be easy. I would not just say, oh, yeah, get rid of Clutter. He's terrible. Just dump him. But you're getting to the point where you have to make a decision. Is it better for this team in the long run to move on from Cal Clutterbuck, pay a guy a little bit less, and save a little money on the cap, or do you bring back Clutter for 1 more go-round? This is one of those decisions that Lou Lamoriello or whoever the next general manager of this team is going to be will have to make this offseason. So, Mike from Charleston, thank you so much for the email. We appreciate it, and I do share the amount of respect you have for Cal Clutterbuck. All right, we've got a lot more to get to. We continue our player-by-player breakdown of the Islanders roster today. Ross Johnston, we'll talk about his season. We'll talk about what whether he met expectations and what his future role is on the Islanders. We've got that and a whole lot more still to come on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. So Ross Johnston, we continue our player-by-player look at Ross the Boss today. Johnston, 29 years old, will turn 30 in February of next year. So, Ross Johnston is in his prime right now. And he gave the Islanders 16 games, had 2 assists, was only a -1, 37 penalty minutes, no goals. And had 2 shots on goal in those 16 games and averaged 7 minutes and 48 seconds of ice time. His assists came in the second game he played this year in Chicago back on November 1st, and in the 8th game he played when the Islanders were in Vancouver on January 3rd. Those are his numbers. And he never had more than 13 minutes and 28 seconds of ice time, only went over 10 minutes of ice time 3 times on the season. And that 13 minutes and 28 seconds of ice time came in the Islanders 6-2, pretty bad thumping against the Boston Bruins. Look, here's the deal. I like Ross Johnston. He's a good guy. He does play his role well when he's called on it. But let's be honest, $1.1 million for a guy who pretty much has one role, and that is playing physically and standing up for his teammates, and only is good enough right now to play 16 games out of 82. He does something that has been important in hockey for a long, long time, but right now is less and less important as the game moves toward speed and skill. So Johnston is 6'5", 230. He is intimidating. He is physical. He is not going to add a lot of offense. He is not going to, could he be an everyday fourth liner based on his style? I don't know. I think the Islanders kind of used him more or less the right way by, if we are playing a team that we view as big or physical, we've got Ross Johnston. And then obviously if other, bottom 6 forwards get ill or get hurt, you've got Ross Johnston. But you look over his career right now, again, 29 years old. This is what he is. He has never played more than 32 games in a season. And I don't see his role changing. Paying Ross Johnston $1.1 million for the role he plays on this team to basically sit in, most of the games, 66 games? He doesn't play 16 games he plays. That's costly against your cap. And if you're going to have a guy who is going to play that role, instead of paying him $1.1 million a year, you should be looking to pay him the league minimum. And you look at the cap situation right now, Ross Johnston is signed for another 3 years before he becomes an unrestricted free agent. So look, you could always send him down to Bridgeport and eliminate, some of that cap hit, I guess. And, maybe he would pass through waivers. But, did Ross Johnston have a good season? Not particularly. Did he have a bad season? Not particularly. He is what he is. And he plays his role well, but it's a declining role in this league. The league is emphasizing other things now. If this was 1991, I think Ross Johnston would have a huge role going up against your Joey Koshers and your Ty Domies and all of that. But in 2023, not as much. And I think Lou Lamoriello overpaid to keep him in town. Next year, depending on who is moved on, if the Islanders could find someone to take Ross Johnston and his $1.1 million salary, more power to them. If the Islanders improve their roster, Ross Johnston at best is going to play a similar role to what he played this year. At worst, he could be down in Bridgeport helping the young guys develop and protecting some of the prospects that this team has. Time now for our Islanders birthday of the day. And this player was only an Islander very briefly, but and now we're a couple of days early, but essentially Saturday is going to be the 38th birthday of former Islanders forward Travis Zajac. Zajac acquired by the Islanders at the trade deadline in 2020. 2021 only played 13 games with the Isles, had 1 goal, 1 assist, and was a -1. Played 14 playoff games for the Islanders during their run to the conference final that year. Again, 1 goal, 2 points, 6 penalty minutes. He basically spent the majority of his career with the New Jersey Devils, was their first round pick in 2004, spent 2 years at the University of North Dakota, and then came up to the Devils in 2006, 2007. Had a solid career there, couple of 20-goal seasons, his career high, 25 goals, 67 points, 6'2", 185, decent size. Not a big penalty minute guy, but, productive, good checker, big guy to stand up for his teammates, but really only was with the Islanders briefly. We look back at one of his better moments with the Islanders. We take you to Game 6 of the Islanders playoff series against the Bruins that year. Islanders up in the series 3-2 and looking to close it out at the Nassau Coliseum. And Zajac got the scoring started, scoring 8 minutes, 52 seconds into the game to make it 1-0 Islanders. And they went on to win by a score of 6-2 and eliminate the Boston Bruins. 23 saves for Varley. Zajac had a goal on his only shot and played almost 16 minutes of hockey for the Islanders in that game. So happy birthday a couple of days early to Travis Zajac. He is our Islanders birthday of the day. Want to thank everybody for making Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Everydayers, tomorrow we will have the latest on all the Islanders news. We'll talk a little bit about where Josh Bailey may go, and we'll have Zach Parise as the player we analyze for our look at every player on the roster. So make sure you join us for that. And again, we're here every Monday through Friday, wherever you get your podcasts, YouTube, and we are now also available on SiriusXM. Check out the SXM app and look for Locked On Islanders. We'll be back tomorrow. Until then, have a great day, everybody. Stay safe. And of course, let's go Islanders.